Whispers Behind My Smile. It's a 12-week journey within of self care, self love, and self nurturing. Hi, I'm Tap. I am putting myself through this journey with intentional focus, with a commitment to consistency and discipline that I normally would not give myself. And probably at the worst time of the year, since we are in the holiday season where everybody is frazzled to get that gift and prepare those dinners and drinks and the gatherings that you have to attend, or maybe you're by yourself and you're feeling a little low that you're not with anybody, or maybe you've lost a loved one and it's your first season, you're having a rough time. A lot of us have a lot of that that's going on right now. So for me to have that variation of sorts going on, as well as deciding to take a step back and focus on myself for the next 12 weeks, is a challenge within itself, but a necessary focus that needs to take place. So last week, I focused on setting my intentions, remembering my why. I'm focused on 5 areas of my life: mindfulness, movement, nourishment, body and soul care, and my home. Now, last week, I mentioned in the previous video, and I'll link a bunch of links for previous videos so people can catch whatever they want to catch and take whatever nuggets are applicable to them and throw away the rest, right? Last week I talked about, or one of my last posts I talked about, I was rushing to solution mode when I was talking about the 5 areas. The 5 areas work for me because I'm always focused on these 5 areas of my life pretty much every single day in some way, shape, or form. And I want to be more intentional in all of these areas. Do I want to boil the ocean and focus on all 5 every single day? Nope. I will definitely break it up over the next 12 weeks. But those are the intentions that I set for myself overall, because I understood that by just creating a bunch of to-do lists for each of these areas and checking it off, it's not really going to help me get to where I'm trying to be. And where I'm trying to be is have a certain flow in my life that works for me. From the time I get up in the morning to the time I put my head on the pillow at night, I want to know that I've had a flow that is aligned with me being intentional, me being authentic, and me curating my life for me, even with the hurdles, even with the potholes, even with the bad stuff that we don't plan for. It's being able to stay in alignment regardless of that. And that's not always easy to do. So this week is all about cultivating awareness. It's about building foundations. It's about putting habits in place. And sometimes I have like an allergic reaction when I hear the word routine because I automatically think boredom. And I like to know that there is a flow of how things go, and the flow is not a static, redundant, no shifting. Like everybody has their preference. For me, I can't do routine. It's the same every single day. I have to know that there's some level of variety to keep my mind stimulated. So for me this week, as I focus on building foundations and really looking at some of the patterns on how I have been living for the last little while and how do I want to evolve that living, it means I do have to look at having more structured habits and routines from a consistency and discipline standpoint to achieve what I'm trying to achieve. And that is of having a certain flow to my life that brings me joy. It holds me in my space of peace, even with the bad stuff along the way. And I say that a lot because a lot of people get this misconception that as you are growing and healing, it's all kumbaya and it's, cozy moments and lighting candles and meditation. It's ugly, it's dark, it's scary, it's lonely. You lose people along the way. Places and things no longer make sense to you for you to be there. And that change can be hard. So figuring out the habits, the routine, the process that flows with where you are right now is not necessarily the most pleasant process. It's a necessary process if you want to continue growing. And what's meant to be with you will stay with you. What's meant to leave you will leave you. And it won't be easy, but it will be necessary because it will make way for more of what is supposed to be with you at this point of your journey. So last week you set intentions. Take a look back in your notebook or your notes app or whatever you're using and just take a look at what you wrote down as your why and what you wrote down as your intentions. And to keep it simple and light, day one, technically day 1, day 2 of week 2, just grab one intention and take a look at it and think, how can you apply something towards focusing on that intention, whatever it needs to look like for you? And it can vary along the way, right? Um, I'm focused on mindfulness. I'm focused on movement. I'm focused on nourishment. I'm focused on body and soul care. And I'm focused on my home. So for me this week, I will be looking at one of the intentions that's around one of these areas, and I'm going to focus on that. If I have space, I will focus on another one, but I'm going to keep it light where I'm going to have a concentrated focus on one. Once I have that kind of sorted out of what am I trying to accomplish, then I'll go on from there. And again, this is the beginning of week 2. There's a lot of days still to go with a lot of focus and a lot of time because you are taking the time to invest in you, to prioritize you. So give yourself grace and go at a pace that works for you. Grab an intention from last week. Take a look at it and think about it. You're now in week 2. What habits do you need to put around it? Are there any habits you need to put around it? Is it going the way that it should be going? Do you need it to go in a different direction? I'm trying to be general with the questions because my 5 doesn't have to be what you're going to be focusing on. And I want to make sure that regardless of what you're focusing on, the questions are still applicable, right? Keep remembering what success looks like on the other side of whatever it is that you're focusing on. That's important. Remembering your why, that is important. But with all of that said, take a moment and just look at the flow, the patterns, what you have going on, and just stop and ask yourself, is this in alignment with where you are right now? It may have been in alignment with who you were a month ago, maybe who you were 2 years ago, but for where you are today, doing this exercise, focusing on you for the next 12 weeks, whatever it is that you are focused on as an area that you want to commit to, whatever routines and process and patterns around that doesn't make sense today. I'll use myself for example. I get up every morning and I journal. I've been doing this forever. Sometimes I start a little bit later. I might skip the morning and I do it at night, but I am a routine journaler. I like to sit down and put my thoughts on paper. Even sometimes if I don't want to have the thoughts, it's better. Pen to paper. Yeah, that's me always, right? I talked about meditation and I want to do meditation 2 times a day because I loved when I was doing it in the past. When I woke up in the morning and I did my journaling and my meditation, my focus for the day, I was clear. I was more articulate in what I was trying to get done. I was more intentional. I have chaotic work days. So that meditation in the morning really helped me cope and coast. To come home at the end of the day, I also enjoyed when I used to journal and meditate at night. Why? Because it helped me decompress from the day and I can sleep better for the next day and sleep better to reset my body to help alleviate the stress that is sitting in my body from the day, no matter how good or bad the day went. Now, as I start talking about routines and habits and flow, maybe my flow going forward, as much as I think it is, 2 times a day I want to do meditation, maybe that's not the path for me. I won't know that yet until I start trying to put some of these habits and routines in place and seeing how they fit. And that is something that we need to remember. Whatever you decide to do today, right now, in this journey that you're in, it's always going to be subject to change. I always like to mention continuous refinement because I think we sometimes get stuck with this is the decision that we made, so we have to stay here. No, you don't. You made a choice. You can always change from your choice if you feel that it is no longer applicable to where you are in your life. Regardless of the topic, that is always going to be applicable. There may be consequences of changing your choices or making the choice to begin with. That's all a part of the package, no matter what you're talking about, right? So I don't know if 2 times a day I can get into a flow of meditation. Maybe it's doing that only on a weekend. Maybe it's doing that 2 or 3 times a week. I will figure that out as I start working on being more committed to a flow of my life that works for me, that used to work for me previously. My life has changed. My job has changed. My pace has changed. And when you start to evaluate what's changed, what's the same, and what the patterns are, it gives you more clarity to help build those habits, to help cultivate that awareness of where you are and where you're trying to get to. And it also helps you set the foundations as you continue layering on this journey. This is not just about 12 weeks and then you pack it up and you go back to all of what you were doing before the 12 weeks started. This is helping you build where you are at this point of your life and where you're going to continue going. I'm a firm believer of the look back. I say look back so you can see where you were, celebrate where you were, cringe maybe on where you were, but it gives you clarity as you are moving forward because you know what you're trying to navigate towards and what you want to navigate from. I'm going to wrap up here. And again, I just want to say if you're taking this journey with me or you come across this video and it's of interest to you, feel free to drop me a message and let me know. I would love to share more and hear more. I'm really about getting a community back together, the collective, so we can sit down and have these conversations and support each other as we go through our respective journeys. But you're in week 2. Last week was setting intentions, remembering your why, and understanding what does success look like for you, and focusing on areas of your life that you want to focus on for the next 12 weeks. This week is about setting foundations, cultivating awareness, clearing out some clutter, and creating some habits that make sense for you on where you are at this point in your life. So pull one of those intentions from last week and have that be your focus this week. If you want to pull more of your intentions from last week, great. If you just want to focus on one, it doesn't matter. Again, the point of this is really just you prioritizing you and taking a moment to give yourself an abundance of self-love, self-care, and self-nurturing because you're worth it. I'm going to tap out here, and I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Peace, love, and blessings.